Happy Thursday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, January 4th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is 3 of Wands in its reversal. My friends, we are still in the Mercury shadow period. I know the retrograde ended, but we still need to deal with some of the circumstances and situations around it. Now, masculine and feminine energy in divine union. There's something here that we are effectively seeing that is in relation to feeling. We've been getting this card coming up a lot right now. This uncertainty as to what is going to happen next. Why are we seeing this uncertainty right now in the energy of the divine union? We are seeing that uncertainty because, if you've been paying attention, masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency set their path on healing unhealed karma and what was required in order to do that work. The ability to surrender a care about the outcome, an ability to surrender the care for an outcome. And even now we are seeing that with some of that work, it is feeling like a bit of a wait and see, but it's also like it can't be a wait and see because this is not something that was done to elicit a reaction point so much as it was a state of being. So we see even now for masculine and feminine navigating some of that feeling, maybe feeling a little bit triggering, even in the divine union frequency. Masculine putting forth effort in spaces and places, again, potentially not immediately seeing the result of it because it's not something that has a perceptible result so much as it feels like a state of being. Feminine doing this work of unpacking, again, almost intentionally facing circumstances and situations that may have previously been very triggering to you, was all being done to a certain extent to see if it still brought out or brought forth that difficult part of oneself that you may have felt the anxiety of having become at the moment that you were confronting things outside of the energy of the divine union. We see for masculine and feminine right now navigating that space, having that feeling, not being sure what the outcome will be in doing this type of healing work is a bit of the frustration factor because you can't put your finger on it. You can't be like, bam, look, it's working, because there's nothing to put your finger on. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. This is, again, something that we are potentially seeing as it relates to the fact that what are we seeing that is happening right now for the energy that's moving into the divine union frequency. There is potentially something that feels like, to a certain extent, that again, something is almost closing off to a certain degree. Something is almost reaching a point of closure. What we're seeing and what you're experiencing right now, I have to stress, especially if you're moving into divine union right now, and as you're moving into divine union, suddenly there's these energies that are popping up right now that are trying to heal these karmic paths with you. That moment, that opportunity that you're potentially able to articulate and say to those energies, I would love to heal something with you, but now's not the time because I'm moving forward in divine union and I need to put all my care and concentration and staying in that vibration. This is that moment that you're recognizing that you have already created a closure point. Your ability to effectively say that is the closure. You don't get closure from outside situations and circumstances. You get closure internally. So this is either going to feel like a sense of internal closure, again, almost surrendering, losing a sense of care for the outcome is the closure, as it were. Being comfortable and confident there, not necessarily needing to take that moment of getting a wait and see, just feeling content with where something is the point of closure you're potentially feeling. And it is going to feel bittersweet. It is going to feel bittersweet because it's almost the observation right now of, again, having that feeling of potentially closing some doors right now, but all for the sake of where you are going. That's moving you further into the divine union frequency. So even now there's going to feel like that sense of like, a little bit of like, I have to stress. It's going to feel like a little bit of a sink, if you will. It's going to feel, but it's the sink into feeling contentment. It's the sink into feeling a sense of peace coming to something that you're not necessarily feeling that same level or degree of insistence on seeing a path forward on, almost feeling that sense of solitude, of feeling that sense of, not solitude, catharsis, if you will, in allowing oneself to say, I no longer aspire to go in that direction. That's not something like, regardless of what happens there, even if like me having to put something off closes a door, this is almost that sense of feeling copacetic about it. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, you may both mutually be feeling and experiencing this around some of the karmic energy that's around you right now, seeing you moving further into the divine union. I told you can't move into divine union without potentially disappointing some of the energy around you, as it were. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see that a lot of the energy in separation right now is moving in this modality where, again, there may be some triggering conversations that are happening, especially because we saw yesterday that feminine was being very open. Feminine just came out of this Mercury retrograde with a bang, because feminine's being very matter of fact about articulating to masculine, especially if they're in separation right now, what they see on the part of the masculine. And I have to stress, some of the masculine energy that was hearing this yesterday from feminine may have gotten kind of triggered from it, because this is almost masculine feeling. And again, this is feminine almost potentially articulating, what did I say we saw that the feminine was articulating to masculine, saying that they almost see a limitation on how far they can proceed with the masculine due to the fact that there's something about the way that the masculine moves or behaves that gives some kind of indication of a masculine that shows an inability to prioritize a particular feminine energy. A lot of feminine energy just fell into separation with masculine over some, again, very finite, something that looked harmless, but was almost an articulation of a masculine that did not recognize that the reason it wasn't harmless was because it was masculine deprioritizing the feelings or the emotionality of a feminine in order to potentially build a bridge with another feminine energy or an energy around them that was trying to heal at a time that the ideal timing was not one that would allow masculine energy to do that kind of dual path work. So we see here that this is almost feminine energy, potentially, again, expressing to some masculine energy or trying to ascertain by watching how the masculine moves. Because we saw that a lot of the feminine energy in separation right now, they're almost giving the masculine energy lots of space. Masculine energy needs to hold space for the feminine right now in separation. Feminine is giving masculine space because feminine feels to a certain extent that masculine won't articulate on what they really want. So feminine's just been observing masculine to try to build that level or degree of understanding. And this is almost feminine energy coming forward to a certain extent and either, again, building that sense of closure for themselves and feeling like they've seen everything that they need to see around some things, or articulating to masculine what they see in the masculine's movements that creates that limitation factor for feminine as it relates to moving into deep and divine union. Masculine, you may be experiencing and feeling this on some part right now with feminine, and it may be feeling somewhat frustrating. We're seeing here that for a lot of the masculine energy and separation right now, this could be feeling like a moment of frustration because, again, this is either seeing something about yourself from a perspective that you don't typically see things. And some of that may be feeling right now like, again, a sense of deepened understanding of the self, but one that is very difficult to observe. Or this is potentially going to feel like a trigger point. I have to stress, I did see the fact that there was some conflict coming up yesterday in the cards. Some of this may result right now in some deep closure, in some points of someone not wanting to speak to someone because something that they effectively articulated to them is almost a feeling of someone potentially getting triggered because they don't believe and they don't want to see the perspective of someone else showing them something from that way. So we see that even now there may be some masculine energy that may be effectively like not necessarily even being in a state or space of wanting to communicate on something, because you may be feeling right now like someone said something about you or towards you, gave you some kind of aspect on what they were seeing from you that you may not necessarily feel is true. We did see, though, that one of the things about this that the feminine is almost utilizing right now, especially if this is a feminine that kind of feels like they said something that triggered masculine. If this is masculine closing the door, masculine, if you're in a space or place where a feminine said something that triggered you and you're not correcting them, instead you're just closing off communication, that's effectively allowing feminine to feel like they hit the nose on the target. That's almost feeling like, again, someone that isn't necessarily in a space or place of wanting to correct and provide an alternate perspective. It's feeling more like feminine feels like they hit the sense, they hit the target, they hit the weak point, they hit something right on the nose, which is why this is potentially leading to a lot more deepening of separation. Second card on the 5-card spread right now is 8 of Cups in its reversal. This is where we're seeing this is potentially creating some conflict points right now, even in the energy and separation, because this is almost a moment that there now feels like there's a deepening of a miscommunication that's potentially happening for energy and separation. Because if this was a feminine energy, I need to stress, that tried to say something to masculine, tried to point something on the nose, like saying you got something right here. That's how the feminine was almost articulating something here. This is almost a feminine that wasn't necessarily trying to come into a state or space of trying to offend the masculine in any way. This was feminine energy literally trying to show the masculine their perception on something. And that point of clarity may now be creating a friction point, because this may be leading to conflicts as it relates to communication of someone who's been offended enough that they don't necessarily want to respond, while the other energy is potentially trying to say, I did not say something to try to create a point of you getting volatile. I did not create something. Feminine's trying to almost say to masculine, I did not necessarily say something to create a volatility point. It wasn't meant as an insult. It was meant as an observable fact. And so what we see here is potentially some of this continuing or perpetuating of arguments that may be happening right now from feminine just being very forthright in what they are seeing and experiencing on masculine energy, and masculine energy potentially feeling triggered in receiving that information to such an extent that it may be feeling like there is some closing down or closure point on communication right now, because even for the masculine energy, there may be something right now that is very hard to see, that may be feeling like that point of, again, wanting to help clarify something. And this is where we see whether this is going to be something that is allowing for an easement, allowing for something to come back into positivity. If this is something that someone is going to basically try to articulate and clarify on because of a refusal to move away, almost again trying to ascertain and say to someone, what you saw, what you think you were seeing is not correct. Let me show you the correct perspective on something. Let me try to articulate and amplify to you why that was something that was not seen. But I have to say here that if this is situations and circumstances where someone is trying to deny someone else's perspective, that is almost leading to further closing and further separation. I have to stress here, the way that you clarify to someone that their perception is off is not by invalidating what they're seeing, rather by allowing that to be a moment of recognizing how one's perception, how one's movement may have been taken or observed, can allow for a point of clarification and accountability. We see that for the energy right now that is moving in that directionality of having a point of accountability and clarification is where we see that this is going to potentially, that is the only path right now if this is occurring back into out of separation. If these are energies where there's almost a doubling down that is occurring right now, of someone saying, let me show you what I've seen, let me show you what my take on something is, let me show you my perspective. If the other energy says, no, your perspective is not true, that is the invalidation of the self. Further separation. Do you see how that inability to see something from the same perspective is what leads to separation? This is why we're seeing that if this is a masculine energy that chose to move autonomously without that sense of shared perspective from the feminine, it led to separation. That now that's like tumbling down the hill into deepening separation. This is what we're seeing. So there's a need right now for a lot of this energy. Don't recalibrate, okay? Pull it back. Pull back is what we're seeing here. Masculine and feminine that are staying in divine union. Masculine, feminine in the divine union frequency, or coming in or maintaining the divine union frequency. This ability is what you're learning how to do. And it's hard. I have to stress, even right now in the energy coming into divine union, it's not the fact that you potentially feel like you always see things from the same perspective. The gift and the beauty of being in divine union is that it gives you multiple perspectives. It gives you that ability to see oneself from a different direction, from a different angle. So for the energy that is coming into the divine union frequency, there may be a moment even now that is feeling somewhat bittersweet and is feeling a little hard. Because even now, you may be experiencing, and this is what I have to stress right now, for the energy that's staying in the divine union frequency, this is the confirmation of another person's perspective on something. This is potentially what we're seeing that's happening here. That moment that we described as the harmless moment, that moment of harmlessness that someone decided, though, to be able to navigate and take someone else's perception and consideration into play as it relates to how to move forward. There may be a moment right now that may be feeling like a point of revelation because it's something that you're potentially seeing right now, that what you thought was harmless, moving in this way is now showing you that what that someone was communicating or feeling the anxiety of being harmless on is in fact somewhat valid. It is in fact showing some ability here. It's giving you that point of clarity. So we see that for the energy right now moving into divine union, that sense and that ability of closure, as it were, is effectively creating that sense and that ability of recognizing what feels like it's coming into a state or space of modification. This is that ability to continue further into the divine union frequency. Now, masculine and feminine in divine union right now, this is that moment that, again, is helping you build that path of closure. It's helping you build that moment of recognizing and feeling, as it were, what feels like it is valuable and what is something that is almost that work that you're doing karmically right now, that again, you can't necessarily see the outcome. You have to just kind of employ a wait and see approach. And for a lot of that energy right now that we are effectively seeing, this is almost that moment that we are identifying wherein energetically we are seeing that there is that point right now that there may be some points that are coming through that feel a little difficult because you may, again, much like we see for the energy coming into the divine union frequency, you may have different perspectives on things. But again, the ability to take into consideration each other's perspectives, the ability to do so, while it may be hard, it's also helping you navigate the best course forward. So even right now for the energy in the divine union frequency, there's that moment that does feel like you're letting some things go. You're continuing forward in this way. And a lot of it is requiring some of that intentional unpacking. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is Knight of Cups, masculine and feminine energy. In divine union right now, what are we seeing that is occurring? For the energy in the divine union frequency right now, one of the things that we are identifying is this moment that is, again, masculine is offering feminine that emotional support. Masculine is letting their guard down. Masculine is coming into a state or space where, again, being able to come into deep vulnerability here is allowing the masculine to emotionally share more and more with the feminine. This is also almost a moment right now that feminine needs this level or degree of emotional support, if you will. Because even now, with some of the work that we see that the energy in the divine union is doing, this is feeling like you're taking different approaches to things. This is feeling like that this is path work that you haven't necessarily navigated before. These are new waters, as it were. Doing this level or degree of karmic healing, it's almost feeling like a lot of like that AP level spiritual and emotional work right now. And what we're seeing even now is that masculine is coming through in a way and continuing to show feminine that they're there and they're building that sense or layer of emotional support. Why do we see that right now? Because again, there's almost a moment that the feminine needs that emotional support right now from masculine. Masculine, this ability right now to stay emotional and vulnerable in this moment is further helping to amplify to you, as it were, your own healing journey. Because it is, again, the ability to surrender and relinquish the outcome on something, but leading from the heart space. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that, again, masculine, you may be feeling and recognizing to a certain extent that your choice to prioritize feminine energy, to move into divine union, it does feel like there's some closure potentially happening around you right now, because you're almost feeling the reprioritization of other energy around you in relation to where the ratio of your own emotional offering is coming through. This is, again, a point of just understanding, of almost seeing the fact that that has a ripple effect, that your ability now to almost articulate and amplify to the energy around you right now, that you are prioritizing and moving into divine union, it does create a narrowing, as it were, as it relates to how much energy is around you and what that accessibility point is. Just like I amplified and articulated is happening right now with the feminine energy in separation. Due to that, that's almost that moment that, again, the energy coming into divine union, this isn't going to feel like so much of a difficulty. It might feel a little bittersweet, but it's almost just that recognition that this is something that you anticipate and expect would happen to a certain degree. There's almost something here of just recognizing and feeling like that's just the way it must be. That's almost like that is the fact that, moving into divine union requires that ability of having that prioritization point. It's going to effectively disappoint energy and recalibrate what that position is as it relates to how accessible it is. Feminine seeing this right now, and masculine, the ability of masculine to not feel that point of that being detrimental, to just kind of like accepting it, to just being in that point of acceptance and seeing the fact that this is masculine that almost like amplifies the fact that this doesn't feel like a surrender. It feels like masculine, like moving into a deepened state of care for feminine. This is further validation of something moving into divine union, because this is feminine seeing and feeling a masculine that doesn't feel a sense of care or concern that prioritization is taking place. Feminine energy right now in separation. This is why we see that even now there may be something about a conflict point being reached with some energy around you right now. Because what we are really identifying at this time for masculine energy in separation, there is this moment that we see is either leading you away from some feminine energy into new opportunities right now, or it's leading to potentially a point of conflict. Because what we are seeing here is almost a feminine energy that, again, is trying to amplify and articulate to a masculine, especially if this was a feminine energy that was almost just trying to give the masculine their perception on what they were seeing from the masculine. This is almost potentially creating a point, and again, this is not potentially a feminine that's speaking in this way to elicit a reaction from masculine. This is almost feminine energy just, again, acting as a mirror to what they're receiving from masculine and not wanting to overextend, not wanting to overgive. So what we're almost seeing here right now is this is a moment for feminine, especially if this is a masculine that may have gotten triggered from hearing the feminine give their opinion on the accessibility point of a masculine and the capability or possibility of moving into divine union due to a lack of an ability to prioritize a particular feminine energy. This is a moment that this may feel like feminine is trying to clarify to masculine energy and almost say, I'm not saying that is the case. I'm not saying that I know how you feel. This is almost feminine trying to amplify to masculine, saying, I present to you what you show me so that you can clarify. The problem with masculine energy is we may see that a lot of this masculine energy experiencing this right now may take this more as an insult, may take this more as an injury. So we see that for some of the masculine energy, this may be feeling like that observation point almost feels like a bridge too far. You may be moving away from something right now because you're feeling to a certain extent like that feminine energy doesn't necessarily see you. For other parts of the masculine energy that's moving more in that sense or direction of trying to heal, that ability, that point of being able, do you see how the healing's coming through on every level here? That ability to observe another person's perspective but not be offended by it, but rather to clarify, to accept and to clarify upon it, is what is potentially allowing for some breakthrough to occur right now, because that's the difference between taking something and allowing oneself to be offended by it versus allowing that point, that data point, that information coming through to give you a point of insight, to give you a point of an ability to recognize how you may be misperceived, how your actions may not necessarily be in alignment with your emotions. So this can actually work as a benefit for masculine in separation, because this is almost a moment that is giving you and providing you an opportunity to clarify yourself. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is Hierophant in its reversal. What are we seeing that is happening right now for a lot of the energy right now in separation? For the energy in separation, what we're almost seeing here, and I have to stress, we're seeing that a lot of this feminine energy in separation is almost amplifying to masculine, that the reason that feminine is communicating in this way isn't due to trying to make the masculine desire divine union. Feminine energy realizes and recognizes that if a masculine energy does not desire divine union, there is almost nothing the feminine energy can do. It's not about convincing someone about the importance of a divine union. It's more a question about whether someone is actually aspiring or desiring for that. And that is why we see that this is feminine energy that's almost trying to amplify to the masculine energy in separation right now. I just want to know what you want. And feminine is almost saying that not from a state or space of saying, I want to know who you want. This is feminine almost saying to masculine, I need you to articulate to me what relationship model you are seeking. What are you aspiring to as it relates to building a relational point, an energetic point with me? Is this something that you are seeking divine union on? Is this something that you are seeking just tangible, like surface level, like relationships here? This is literally feminine trying to articulate to masculine and saying, you aren't telling me. You're not making it clear. So if this is feminine that was telling masculine what they saw from the masculine, this was literally feminine trying to say, I am telling you how I built an observation point on why I don't believe you desire divine union based on the way that you are moving, based on the way that I see you, based on your actions. This is feminine almost saying, if you don't tell me, I have no choice but to build that data point from how you move. So we see here that this is almost feminine trying to correct masculine and saying, I'm not trying to tell you how you feel by showing you what I see. I am trying to ascertain what you want because you won't articulate it. Masculine in separation, this is that moment that's either going to lead to a trigger point where you don't want to talk to someone because you feel like they're misunderstanding you, or this is going to feel like a moment of intense clarification, because we see that for a lot of the masculine energy and separation right now, it is that observation point. And one of the things that masculine, if you're in separation right now, you just need to come to terms with, is that there may have been spaces and places in the past wherein you recognize that you have been less than authentic in relation to what it is that you're seeking, for fear that if you were, you would not be able to build any type of relationship with the feminine. So for a lot of the masculine energy, this is almost a moment that you may be recognizing that your own ability, your own inability to not articulating this, it's not creating a space, or it's almost preventing any ability to potentially move into divine union, because feminine almost is assuming the worst. Feminine just takes it and extrapolates that your inability to communicate means exactly what you're trying to hide. It's not like it's working. It's like feminine can understand that if someone doesn't want to talk about partnership, it's because they don't truly seek it. It's not because they're effectively hiding their emotions. So we're seeing here that for the masculine energy right now, this ability to truly articulate upon what it is that you're seeking from the feminine, regardless of what shape that is almost what the feminine energy in separation is asking from the masculine, because this is feminine energy that says, like, let me surprise you. Show me, tell me what you want, because this is almost feminine saying, I cannot provide back to you what you seek unless you know what that is. So for some of the masculine energy right now, this could be feeling like, again, coming into vulnerability in terms of expressing your emotions, or this is going to feel like a lot of internal journeying as you recognize that this is something that you need to truly ask yourself. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency, this is that moment, masculine, that you may be feeling like that deepening. This is just that understood fact, the deepening of a commitment here. The deepening of moving into divine union is, again, closing out a lot of other karmic energy around you right now. It is the closure point. It's building that sense of closure. Now, for the energy moving into divine union, that could just feel like something that you are copacetic on. Because again, it is that sense of feeling like you have to surrender some partnership possibilities. You have to surrender some unhealed karmic connections for the sake of moving deeper into a path into the divine union frequency. Feminine, seeing a masculine that's able to do this, seeing a masculine that feels copacetic about that, seeing a masculine that again says like, well, yeah, of course, and amplifying, articulating to the feminine that is happening, not staying closed off about it, but just stating the facts, as it were. That's further amplification to feminine that this is a deepening of a connection, because this is a feminine that like isn't surprised to hear this, especially if this is a feminine that there was some kind of discernment and delineation that was happening about something coming towards the energy right now that one person felt was harmless and the other one didn't. There's almost that point right now that's now leading to that deeper level of understanding on why someone's perspective was potentially correct. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency right now, this is what we see is effectively happening right now that is requiring that level or degree of care, of concentration. Masculine having to put a lot of emotional effort and energy towards circumstances and situations right now, because we see here what is feminine energy's own anxiety point on. There's anxiety about maintaining the ability to be in divine union right now. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency intentionally set about to address a lot of this unhealed karmic work here. For feminine, what do we keep seeing that the anxiety point is? Feminine is almost feeling that anxiety point of doing this deeper karmic work for fear of potentially disrupting the divine union with the masculine. Masculine is amplifying to feminine. Masculine is further also feeling that point because masculine is trying to build and rebuild all of those unhealed karmic connections that are potentially around the divine union. This is like going on the outskirts of something to see what you can repair. And what we're effectively identifying here to a certain extent is that for both energies, there is more of a feeling of wait and see, of taking very unconventional approaches. But that's the advantage of doing this type of work. That ability right now in the divine union, the strength and security of the energy in the divine union is allowing for some unconventional approaches. It's allowing for some new perspectives, for new possibilities. It is allowing a flexibility, and it's being amplified by, again, potentially masculine, having to put a lot of weight, effort, and energy in continuing to stay emotionally open, in continuing to show feminine in every way, shape, or form that they are there, that they are continuing to lend that support to feminine as they do this work. Because we're even seeing right now this internal journeying that the feminine's going on right now is very difficult and almost needs and requires that level or degree of emotional support to help remember and remind that that divine union is still very much intact. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our Four of Swords. Masculine and feminine energy in divine union right now. That circumstance and situation, that ability right now to do this type of work, it is difficult. We are even seeing for the energy in the divine union, it is feeling, there's almost this moment here that feels like again, this is feeling, I have to stress, a lot of this feels like this heavy karmic work that you're doing right now. It feels like something that you're doing in waves. It feels like something that has a bit of a stop-start to it. It feels like this moment that is allowing a level or degree of time to things, because I have to stress, the ability to slow something down is exactly the differentiation point on what feels like it is karmically positive versus something that feels like it is unhealthy, right? An inability to slow something down almost amplifies something that isn't necessarily positive, because it almost amplifies something that one feels like one does not have any ability to navigate or control. So we're almost seeing here that, again, this is the gift, this is the lesson of the Mercury retrograde continuing forward in this way, because the ability to slow something down is effectively the approach. It is utilizing time for the benefit of recognizing that this isn't feeling like something that is like overwhelming. That is why we see that feminine is working so hard in maintaining that point of emotional balance, as is masculine right now, because it is a situation and circumstance that is proving forth right now through one's own ability to maintain emotional balance throughout it. For masculine, it's been the lesson of learning patience. For feminine, it is feeling the ability of seeing masculine energy that is consistently able to provide emotional support as they do some of this deeper work. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This was that success metric that we're almost seeing to a certain extent, because again, what was the solution implemented to help determine the difference right now between something that was coming towards the divine union from a state or space of positivity versus something that may have been something that was coming towards the divine union specifically to ascertain if a divine union was actually forming. It was related to implementing that sense of time. So we even see right now, especially if there was something coming towards energy right now that was moving into divine union, that was almost related to masculine and feminine, like someone trying to heal an unhealed karmic connection. The ability of moving it onto the timeline of the divine union effectively amplifies whether it is something that is moving to the purpose in alignment with the divine union frequency, or if this is something that drops off, if this is something that someone no longer wants to heal something because they're seeing that the divine union is perpetuating, then that's the clarification point that that wasn't necessarily coming from the state or space of just being harmless now, was it? Energy that fell into separation over circumstances like this is why we see that a lot of the feminine energy, it's not that they haven't necessarily completely closed off to a masculine. It's more that moment or opportunity that we are identifying of masculine suddenly recognizing and feeling like feminine, and this could even be masculine feeling a point of frustration, because if this is a feminine that almost like went into a state or space of articulating to, and I have to say, this is where some of the feminine needs to observe their own ability in terms of really helping to clarify to masculine right now. This is almost potentially, I see a lot of masculine energy that might be approaching feminine and saying, if I knew your perspective on this, I would have not necessarily taken the actions that I did. And this is what we have to be conscientious and cautious of, because we did see that a lot of the feminine energy over the last few days, feminine, you're not off the hook here. Feminine energy over the last few days almost built a point, especially if there was a masculine energy wherein they tried to articulate their own anxiety point in seeing masculine, again, moving towards energy that was deprioritizing the feminine. Feminine having that point of observation. This could be masculine feeling some point of frustration and almost saying to feminine, you didn't say this at the time. You didn't articulate this at the time. And this is almost feminine coming into a point of masculine saying, well, I couldn't articulate it because you hadn't done it yet. I was watching it happen. I was watching it happen to see if it was occurring. And and this almost feminine trying to say to masculine, I did try to tell you. I tried to tell you when I said I was not comfortable with something. I tried to tell you when I said, I don't think that this is harmless. I tried to tell you when you made the choice and said, I'm going to do this regardless of how you feel about it. And feminine said, go ahead and do whatever you want. This is feminine that's now almost saying to masculine, it seems to me that you don't want to be in divine union. It seems to me that you don't want to prioritize my emotional needs above the emotional needs of the energy around you. And this is masculine, again, either getting triggered about that, and this is the further breaking of the separation cycle and feeling like the feminine has an opinion or perspective on something that isn't accurate to the masculine's view, or this is masculine that is trying to amplify. This is masculine trying to go back to feminine now. This is masculine potentially recognizing and seeing that through these actions, they've actually fallen back out of the frequency and potentially trying to mend something. But again, if this has already occurred, that's going to be very difficult because it's almost masculine trying to say, you are the priority. But again, this is feminine saying, I'm the priority now. I'm the priority after something happened. I'm the priority after you ascertained. You went to go check. You went to go check on something. You went to go try to build a connection back. And now you're back to say that you're prioritizing. This is almost feminine saying that this isn't us staying in the frequency. This was you exploring trying to see if something was possible in being fixed, and now you're back. So you see how this has almost immediately led to a deep separation moment, because this is now a feminine that feels like the only reason that the masculine's coming back at this time is whatever they were trying to create or reheal with that other energy. It did not work. So for masculine right now, this could be feeling very difficult because, again, it could be feeling like there's a lot of energy around you right now that is very doubtful about their ability to maintain divine union with you. But it may be feeling like you're experiencing it from a lot of different sides. Continuing to get clarification on this right now between our 3 of Wands in its reversal in combination with our 8 of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Star. Feminine does not want to feel like masculine's moving into divine union as a second choice. Feminine does not want to feel like masculine was moving in one direction, something didn't work, and now the masculine's coming back to the feminine. This is why we see that for energy that was moving into divine union, and feminine said to masculine, I really don't think you should do that. I think you should stay here. And masculine said, well, I just got to go. I have to go do this. This is feminine that is almost, again, staying in separation because feminine saying, I need to be the priority. And this is almost feminine that is ascertaining and trying to say to masculine, your inability to potentially walk away from something doesn't make me the priority. You looking at something and deciding that something couldn't be healed doesn't make me the priority. It just amplifies that I am the available option. I am the thing that is here. And this is feminine that's almost amplifying to masculine and saying, I don't want divine union to come about as a consolation prize. I want you to be intentional about choosing it. And this is why we see that potentially right now for a lot of the feminine energy, there could be walking away from masculine if this just occurred, because that inability to prioritize the feminine energy's own needs and feelings above trying to rebuild back a karmic connection at a time that the timing was not ideal is just further amplifying to feminine that they feel that they need to be the option. They need to be the priority. It shouldn't just be something that happens coincidentally. It needs to be something that is intentional. Masculine, you may be feeling this right now. If in separation, there could be this moment that you are identifying, that you are recognizing, wherein we see that you are going through this situation that for masculine right now, this could be feeling very frustrating in separation right now, because again, there could be feeling right now that there is a feminine that is your priority, but having to convince that feminine right now that that is the case is feeling very, very difficult. There may even be a moment right now that, again, having to ascertain and recognize or get some perspective from feminine in this way is almost amplifying to you something about the way feminine has seen something that feels like it is a very far journey to come back to that feminine specifically, because this is almost a feminine that's amplifying to you something about how they've seen you move that almost is giving you the reason why the feminine may be keeping a bit of a distance from you. So for some of the masculine energy right now, this may be feeling like too triggering. You may even be like moving away from a feminine that's showing you these things. Or for a lot of the other part of the masculine energy and separation, this is almost a moment of trying, not letting yourself get triggered, but instead trying to take accountability for what the feminine has seen and try to provide some point of context and clarity. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, what we are effectively seeing is, again, that moment of masculine choosing, making that choice, moving towards the feminine right now, keeping that feminine as the priority. This is masculine just coming into a point of recognizing that, again, they're seeing and feeling how some of the other energy around them, specifically the feminine, is reprioritizing where the masculine is in their life, due to the fact that when you move into divine union, it changes things. There's ripples that come through. It adjusts how the energy around you has accessibility to you. So even for a lot of the masculine in this modality right now, this is not necessarily going to feel like a bad thing. It feels like an affirmation of the choice. It feels like a strengthening of the choice. It feels like the focal point is there. Feminine energy in coming into divine union right now, the masculine's ability to do this and to articulate upon doing this is almost further amplifying to you your prioritization in their life. And again, that ability right now to see that is further amplifying the feminine energy's own ability to be open to masculine, because again, it is that moment of feminine feeling like they can be vulnerable with a masculine that is being open and vulnerable to them. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this is why we see right now that a lot of this internal journey work that is occurring right now is coming through around feminine being their most authentic expression of self. And it feels very difficult for the feminine because feminine is feeling the anxiety of being their most authentic expression of self for fear of affecting the divine union. Like, this is almost feminine. I have to stress, a lot of this energy feels like feminine wanting to come into a state or space of stillness in divine union. And this is masculine saying, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to be in that state. I want you to continue to move forward. I want you to continue to grow. I want you to continue to move into that deepened sense of self. I'm going to be here to support you every step of the way. So again, that push-pull right now in the divine union frequency right now, it is feeling very difficult because even now the feminine is feeling extremely vulnerable. Feminine's feeling extremely vulnerable to masculine. And masculine is almost, again, moving from a state or space of trying to show the feminine that it is okay to be in that point of vulnerability. This is that point of almost shared masculine and feminine energy right now in divine union frequency. This is like feeling a lot like this is like mutual vulnerability is what we're seeing here, because the masculine being emotional open like that is effectively that same state of vulnerability of the feminine being their most authentic expression of self. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. So it's tender. Everyone needs to be mindful that everybody's really tender right now in the divine union frequency. Tender buttons. Masculine, and continuing forward right now, our Three of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Knight of Cups. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Wands. What is happening here? All right, masculine and feminine in divine union right now. What's happening? Masculine and feminine energy in divine union frequency right now. Yeah, there are knights popping. Okay, so this is I got to stress this. Okay, all right, how do I explain this? All right, it's going to be emotional. Masculine energy in the divine union frequency right now is potentially, there's a lot of emotionality coming in. That emotionality is you coming into alignment with your feminine energy. And what's happening right now in the divine union frequency? Okay. Divine union, feminine is becoming their most authentic expression of themselves. They're being completely vulnerable. Feminine works as a mirror to masculine, right? Masculine is navigating that state or space wherein they are reflecting the vulnerability of the feminine. They're becoming very emotionally vulnerable. And as a result, masculine, this is the same energy that we are seeing that we saw yesterday with the masculine in divine union, which is, again, this is masculine that's not trying to push feminine into a point of being vulnerable. This is masculine that realizes that fine line between pushing someone to be vulnerable to serve one's own purposes versus pushing someone to be their most authentic expression of self just because you want them to be, because it comes from a state of genuine care and love and support. So what we are seeing right now is this is masculine that feels like they are walking a very fine line, because this is a masculine energy that's like own care and love of the feminine right now. Seeing the feminine in that state of vulnerability is almost building that level or degree of preciousness that they experience from that feminine. And this is almost in a way triggering the masculine, because the masculine does want to get overprotective here. They do feel that need to want to move forward in that way. But again, they're trying to like hold that space or place between passion and emotion right now that feels very difficult, because this is masculine and it may feel like a bit of confusing energy right now for a lot of the masculine right now in divine union, because it's almost coming from a state of seeing the feminine open in this way is almost shaking the masculine energy's own confidence. You know what I mean? Because this is a masculine that's like, it's like the more that they see the feminine come open in this way, the more that the feminine's open and vulnerable, it's almost, again, challenging the masculine to be able to be at that same level of vulnerability is very difficult. It's hard for masculine to be as vulnerable in that way. And that's why we see now, to a certain extent, this is potentially feeling like a little bit of pulling back, if you will. This is why I told you that this process feels like it doesn't feel like it's just like pushing forward. The ability to pull forward and pull back right now is almost what's necessary, because that's that moment of masculine also feeling the ability that this isn't necessarily, again, for feminine, that ability of emotionality is one that the masculine is feeling that like weight to. It's feeling like a deep connection point on. While for feminine, that fear, that anxiety of being their vulnerable self and not wanting to repel the masculine from it is, again, a moment that we see that the feminine is simultaneously also experiencing that anxiety. So we see that both for masculine and feminine right now in divine union, it's going to feel like a little bit of like a pulse, if you will, in terms of feeling like that need to open, but then also feeling the anxiety in doing so. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this isn't going to feel so much like that deep heart work. It's going to feel more like a sense of catharsis coming into circumstances or situations related to the fact of masculine being okay with the fact of masculine potentially feeling like they're sensing that some of the energy around them right now, potentially even outside feminine energy, is getting a bit more closed off. It's getting a little bit more, isn't necessarily as accessible to them. Because this is almost a masculine energy, it realizes that that comes with the territory of moving into divine union. This is potentially even recognizing for masculine, especially if there's something about putting some time on something, speaking on behalf of two, speaking on behalf of union instead of one, is almost amplifying right now for masculine that like coming into divine union means that some things like, that ratio of what you can give is now being matched by a lot of the energy around you right now. But at the same time, masculine recognizing that, not letting it effectively like burden you, but just realizing that it comes into the territory as you move into divine union, like it does feel like a bit of a maturation process. Feminine, seeing a masculine that's able to do this, that doesn't necessarily mind the fact that like there are some energies around them that are becoming like a bit more withdrawn, a bit more closed off, seeing masculine moving into divine union. Masculine almost articulating on that, but not articulating it from a state or space of like blaming the feminine, but just realizing and saying like that's the way it is. There's a point of validation here because this is almost feminine seeing masculine recognize why feminine said that something that was coming towards them from a positive space was potentially not harmless. Because that's that moment that feminine's realizing that like that is the closure point. That's masculine. It's realizing that that energy wasn't trying to close something. It was potentially trying to reopen something. And masculine's own ability to do so and put a time clock on it is showing the fact that this is masculine that prioritizes the divine union over any kind of opportunity that may present itself to the masculine. That ability to be open about it in a way is almost amplifying to the feminine, as it were, that this is masculine energy that is truly able to maintain the consistency of the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine in separation. This modality is exactly why we see that so much of the feminine energy right now is in separation. And feminine energy's own ability to potentially articulate to masculine the fact that for a lot of the feminine energy right now, if in separation, it is because the feminine's potentially saying to masculine that they saw situations and circumstances wherein masculine was not able to prioritize the needs of a single feminine energy. And that is why we see that this almost feminine energy that's almost trying to like heal something with masculine, but only to a point. That until the masculine shows an ability to prioritize a particular feminine energy, this is almost feminine trying to say to masculine, like, you can be in my life, you can be a part of my life, but this is how much you can be a part of my life. This is how much I can offer you. And even in that moment right now, we see that something about the feminine articulating this to masculine may be feeling like it is very triggering to a masculine energy. Because for a lot of the masculine energy experiencing this, you may be feeling like this is a feminine energy that is trying to end something with you. But what we're seeing here is it's almost like not even a feminine energy that's trying to end something with you by articulating this. This is a feminine energy that's almost telling you, I'm trying to correct the ratio in terms of what I give and what you're showing an ability to give. And this is almost feminine energy. If there's a moment that feminine says or feels that masculine did not prioritize their needs over their own desire, this is feminine that's almost saying to masculine, we need to recalibrate where you are in my life. Because if I am not the priority to you, then we're not in divine union, nor is there any possibility that we can come into divine union. And this is feminine energy saying, that's fine, but only to a point. This is where you are in my life right now. So we see, for a lot of the masculine energy right now, this is going to feel like a lot of internal journeying, because for some of the masculine energy, that observation point of a feminine telling you that may feel like it's a bridge too far. It may want you to kind of end a potential connection because you're feeling like that is actually an act of rejection, where it's not an act of rejection. It's feminine trying to be authentic and trying to meet your needs as they feel like you're showing them to them. While for the other part of the masculine energy right now, this is an opportunity potentially to heal. Because what the feminine's potentially saying to you in that moment is, do you have the capacity to prioritize the needs of the feminine to be able to maintain divine union? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Cups in combination with our Hierophant in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Cups. Masculine and feminine, look at this combination here. Masculine and feminine in combination, in divine union. This is why this work right now, I have to say, it's very vulnerable work that we're seeing that is occurring right now in divine union, because there's a lot of intentionality right now in terms of taking unconventional approaches. And taking those unconventional approaches right now in the divine union frequency is, again, I have to stress, it is building the emotional connection between masculine and feminine. It is deepening the emotional connection. And that, in a way, is the unconventional aspect to it. It's not doing things in the conventional way. This is that literally that opening of the heart space for both masculine and feminine right now is leading to an incredibly deep emotional connection for masculine and feminine, due to a fact of, again, what have we been seeing that the energy right now that's in the divine union frequency doing? Opening up the heart space. Intentionally unpacking unhealed karmic connections, going deeper in your healing journey together is deepening the emotionality that you're experiencing together, even if it's requiring some unconventional approaches. It's almost building that sense of love for one another even stronger in the face of things that you feel like actually like add stress to the conventional forms of the partnership, right? This is that moment. It's like literally addressing anything that is a challenge space to the divine union frequency with the emotions. This is like Care Bear staring something. This is Care Bear staring something. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union frequency. What we are effectively seeing right now is that moment or opportunity wherein there's just this point of observation right now that, again, in order to come into the divine union frequency, this is what we mean about the fact that you can't do dual path work. You cannot be trying to heal unhealed karmic connections at the same time that you're coming into the divine union frequency. The frequency is too fragile at that time. The prioritization of the emotional needs of both energies right now, much like the energy that's already in the divine union, the ability to prioritize the energy of the another around anything outside of the divine union is reprioritizing the energy around the divine union to fall into flow with the fact that the divine union is there. And what we're seeing and recognizing here is just that moment that, again, it's almost this recalibration effect, the ripples coming out as it relates to the energy around the energy in divine union, recalibrating like what that looks like and what the connection points they have with that energy is, given the fact that the energy now is almost, again, committed to the prioritization of the counterpart energy. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is why we see that there may be a lot of difficult conversations happening right now in separation. And it's hitting a moment that can be very triggering. And it's either going to lead to a lot of breakthroughs or it's going to lead to a lot of breakups. Either breakthroughs or breakups right now. You got to choose. Because what we're seeing here is this is a feminine. Feminine is being completely open to masculine. Feminine is not saying something to masculine right now to elicit a reaction Feminine is almost just articulating to masculine what they see on the masculine. And what the feminine's almost saying to masculine is, do you really want divine union? Because something I've seen in your behavior, what you've just shown me in your choices, you may be saying in your mouth may be saying you want divine union, but your actions are not aligning to what one would actually do in divine union, which is prioritizing the needs of a particular energy beyond the energy of others. So for masculine and feminine, this is a lot of reflection that's happening right now in separation, and it's potentially leading to a lot of heart-to-hearts. And the question at those heart-to-hearts is, what do you actually want? And we're seeing here that this is not coming from a place of a lack of care. That's why we're seeing that it's really important that you don't get triggered by these conversations. This is literally feminine potentially looking to masculine and saying, tell me what you want. Meaning, what is it that you are seeking in partnership? Because you don't want divine union if you're not prioritizing my needs above the needs of others. And this is almost feminine saying, I'm asking you this so that so I can come into flow with you. This is literally feminine saying to masculine, like, I'm trying to meet you where you're at. Tell me what note you're singing. What are you trying to sing? Do I know the song? This is literally feminine going, I'm not asking you to meet me at this frequency. I'm just trying to figure out what you're trying, like what tune you're trying to carry. What does it look like? Tell me the shape of it. And this is masculine from a point of care. And this is why we see that a lot of masculine may be misinterpreting a feminine saying, if you don't tell me, I'm going to guess. So if feminine is being forced to guess through your actions and then telling you what song they think you're singing, masculine, I really, really, really don't want you to get upset, because you could just tell them. And we're seeing for a lot of masculine energy right now, you may be even realizing that this may have led to some kind of dissolution of partnership in the past due to a feminine saying, like, doing everything in their power, not to try to get you, not to try to like have you, but just trying to figure out what you're doing, just trying to figure out what you're singing, just trying to figure out, name that tune. Like, name that emotional or spiritual tune is what we see that feminine is almost trying to do with masculine. And it requires the masculine to be able to open up with that. But that is very hard for masculine, because masculine, that ability to articulate from a state of your own emotional needs and desires is very challenging. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Hierophant in its reversal in combination with our Four of Swords. May I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Judgment in its reversal. Why is masculine afraid to tell feminine what they want? Because masculine, it doesn't believe that the feminine will truly be able to meet them there. This is a masculine. Again, we're dealing with these triggering spaces right now. This is a masculine that feels that anxiety and feels that fear of saying, well, if I tell you, potentially, a lot of masculine energy and separation right now, almost feeling that anxiety and being like, if I tell you what I truly want, I think you'll change your mind. This is almost masculine, like assuming and presuming that that isn't the case. That what the feminine is saying as it relates to saying, just tell me what you want, isn't necessarily the case. This is almost masculine. Again, remember what I said? Remember I said about the energy right now of feminine having been in situations and circumstances in the past where energy tried to bring them into a point of vulnerability for their own desire and their own need. This is masculine reflecting that same karmic journey, saying, I fear that if I tell you what I truly desire, what I truly need, it's going to be a moment that you're going to just move away from me entirely. It's going to be a moment that you completely push away. But what we're seeing here for a lot of the masculine energy is almost this point of recognizing right now that your inability to articulate on what you need has already led to separation. It's already creating that separation point because it's taking the ability to choose away from the feminine. If the feminine doesn't get a choice in something, you're not in divine union. The divine union is the unified choice. It's not the commitment. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. The divine union is the unified choice. It's not the commitment. You can slap whatever name you want on it. You're not in divine union unless you're moving from a state of unified choice. And that is why we see right now, for a lot of the energy and separation, there is a moment that you may be feeling like something is repeating itself because, again, feminine is almost looking to masculine right now, and this is happening, and saying, this isn't the first time this has happened. This is feminine that's like, the reason the feminine is so cautious right now is feminine being like, you are not the first time I've had to experience this. This is not the first time that this has occurred. This is something that has happened. Feminine has seen this. Feminine has seen this occur again and again. And this is feminine that's effectively saying to masculine, this isn't a moment. This doesn't work. It doesn't work. To move in that modality, to be in separation, to again, pretend you don't know what you want because you don't want to say what you want. It's not, feminine is like knows to a certain extent that it's not true, because it feels like that moment right now that feminine's recognizing and saying, if you don't know what you want, all you're saying to me is that you are afraid of commitment. All you're really saying, this is feminine being like, I can see through that. It's not fooling anybody. If you say you don't know what you want, it's because you're really saying you are afraid of coming into divine union. And that's fine too. This is almost feminine saying, feminine's like in separation is not trying to force masculine into divine union. This is feminine saying, but you have to at least say what it is that you're seeking. So we see here that for the feminine energy in separation right now, this is why the feminine is staying almost very content right now, making peace with situations or circumstances, because more than anything, the one thing that feminine wants to effectively avoid is repeating a cycle. Feminine doesn't want to get in a modality where they feel like something is happening again and again and again. They want this to be a moment of allowing for breakthroughs. And this is why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy right now, this is feminine energy that's almost saying, like, if you're not able to provide that context, if you're not able to provide that clarity, feminine's like, I will make peace with that. I will make peace with that and I will move forward. But we're seeing that the feminine separation is like, I'm not going to try to like convince you into being in partnership with me. I'm just going to make peace with the fact that you don't want to be. Masculine in separation right now, you may be experiencing this from feminine energy. You may be experiencing this moment that we are effectively seeing, wherein you are recognizing that this is feminine energy that is almost asking you to take that unconventional approach, to be honest, to be articulate, to tell them what it is you want. However, the problem that you may be experiencing right now is if you haven't told the feminine, what you're getting right now is feminine taking their best assessment on what they're seeing and articulating it to you. And that's that moment that we're either seeing that may be triggering, because this could either be feminine energy that's kind of hitting the nose on the head, like hitting the nail on the head in a way that, is hard to like amplify, because it's almost feeling again, almost like a point of condemnation if you're not the one who stated it. Or this is an opportunity that you're seeing and recognizing that this is feminine literally asking you to be honest with them as it relates to what it is that you want. Because recognizing that allowing the energy around you to make the choice is the divine union. That is the divine union. It's not a ring, it's the choice. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This ability right now, this recognition of, again, adding points right now of patience to things, looking at some energy that was potentially trying to come towards you right now for the sake of healing, and almost saying to it, like, now is not the time because I'm concentrating on divine union. There may be an observation point, and there's almost this point that you're potentially seeing with some of that energy right now that's either saying, absolutely, take all the time you need, or the energy saying, never mind. Or the energy saying, never mind. And that is that moment that we're potentially seeing that that harmless thing is now getting optics as to whether it was truly well-intentioned or not. Because the energy, again, the good persists. If the energy that was trying to heal something on a karmic level was truly just coming from a state of healing, then that level or degree of patience is showing itself via the ability for it not necessarily to feel like it's on another timeline. It's moving in accordance with the divine union's timeline. If the energy is saying never mind in the aspiration of healing at a time that you tell that there's a preciousness and a care that you're trying to stay put on something right now, that's giving clarity that something was not just coming from the innocuousness or the coincidentality of intention, but more due to the relevance of time. So that's what we see for masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, is that discernment, that observation point in terms of the intentionality of the energy around you at this time. Masculine and feminine already in the divine union frequency, this is the intentional opening up of situations and circumstances to assess how one feels about them. Masculine was doing this in a very tangible way, putting a lot of effort out. Feminine was doing it on a lot of work inwards. And for both energies right now, it's feeling like a little bit of stop-start. A little bit of stop-start. A little bit of an ability to put patience and time on things right now. Because again, it's almost like a step forward, see how you feel, step forward, see how you feel, taking that ability, taking that accountability, having those points and recognizing that the reason that this work is valuable is because you are intentionally mutually making that choice. It's slowing things down because, again, no one's necessarily rushing ahead in one direction or another. You're taking time every step of the way to almost assess and see the comfort level as you proceed forward. So that's what we're seeing here, that's almost leading to the deepening of the emotional connection. Because again, you're facing things that are difficult, but you're checking on each other every step of the way. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Star card in combination with our Knight of Wands in its reversal. Here's those unhealed karmic connections, right? And that's what we're seeing here, masculine and feminine energy right now, doing this work, doing this unpacking. It's different work. Masculine intentionally putting effort and energy in healing karmic connections in a very tangible way right now. Feminine doing a lot of work on healing what has occurred to them and their own sense of feeling that they can be their authentic sense of self due to the unhealed karmic connections. One is having their confidence shaken as it relates to their ability to move forward. The other is feeling that anxiety about going inward, all due to the fact that both of that work is healing the karmic energy. It's both of it. It's just two different ways of healing it. Feminine, it's the internal journey. Masculine, it's the external. Both energies right now feeling very vulnerable in that way. The anxiety point being the outside unhealed karmic energy. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now, being open, expressing these vulnerabilities to one another, is helping even now to heal it, because it's that observation of doing further unpacking right now to address how to handle it, to address what to do, to address how to navigate it. And this is leading to a deepening of the connection between masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to as it relates to this heavy work. But for the masculine and feminine energy and the divine union frequency, this was the intentionality that you set forth to try to heal these things. This is that deeper unpacking, as it were. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. This is that recognition point that we're potentially seeing right now that relates to the fact that when you're moving into divine union, sometimes, it relates and creates spaces or places that create some observation to unhealed karmic connections. We are seeing here that it's not the fact that there aren't some unhealed karmic connections right now around the divine unions. It's the observation point on what feels like it can and cannot be healed. Masculine, there may be a feeling right now of some things right now potentially coming towards you as you're trying to move into divine union that you're postponing the healing on. It's not the fact that you don't feel that you can heal it. It's just that feeling that you may have to postpone it again to prioritize the feminine in the divine union and the comfort level of the feminine. For others, if there's energy here where masculine's trying to postpone a healing and the energy itself is not having an ideal response to that, in a way, it's almost validating the feminine energy's own concerns as it relates to whether something was harmless or coming towards someone at a time that feels like it was inopportune. In separation right now, this is why we see a lot of energy in separation, because feminine is being authentic to masculine about how they might have moved towards energy that feminine feels like they did not prioritize the feminine. And feminine is literally almost looking at this right now, if these are the circumstances, and saying to masculine, especially if this is masculine that went away and came back, wasn't what you expected, was it? Almost feminine anticipating. Almost feminine anticipating what happened. And feminine almost seeing, not even needing to be told, just using their perception. And this is why we see right now, if this was a masculine that moved away from feminine and now is coming back, this is feminine that's almost saying, do you understand? Do you see it now? Do you see how that pulled us into separation? Do you see the intentionality? You let unhealed connections pull you into separation. And this is why we see that the feminine is now holding a distance from this masculine energy, because this is feminine saying you lack the ability of prioritizing energy. This is almost feminine again, not even taking it personally. We're seeing here this almost feminine saying, I know that this isn't a me problem because they think that it's this. They think that they're in this space. This is feminine almost looking at it right now and trying to amplify to the masculine and say, I understand the perspective of the energy around you because I'm a part of it. You've made me a part of it in the moment that you didn't, in the minute you deprioritized. So what we almost see here with feminine, this is why we see a lot of the feminine energy. If this is masculine that's trying to come back to them in this way, this is feminine being like, you made your choice. You made your choice. The problem with a lot of the masculine energy right now, that if you moved away from a feminine that you are building a divine union with to heal an unhealed karmic connection, you could be hearing the same thing from the energy that you're now moving towards right now. There might be a moment that you're experiencing that right now. Again, it's almost like this energy that all kind of insists that they're trying to keep you in that shallow part of the pool because they're telling you in some way that they observe something about your nature wherein you're not prioritizing a particular energy. And that lack of an ability to prioritize is why some of the energy is keeping a distance, if you will. Masculine in this modality, this observation point, may be creating clarity again, either in something that you're hearing from a feminine right now that's helping you realize why some energy around you is also unhealed, or this is a moment that you're now suddenly realizing, if you're making that determination point, that there is in fact a feminine that is your focus, that is your aspiration point. And that is almost what we see here for a lot of the masculine energy right now, is this becoming a bit of a healing journey if in separation. Because this is a masculine that's, again, that point of recognizing and determining right now if you're ready to move into divine union, understanding the importance of prioritizing a particular energy over the energy around you, even if it creates some sense, and recognizing that it obviously will create a sense of disruption in the energy around you. masculine, this is just kind of realizing and recognizing the resonance of the choice of moving into divine union. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Wands and its reversal in combination with our Queen of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the World in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now in divine union and partnership. This is why we see that even now there could be a feeling right now of having to navigate or feeling like you're trying to address any feelings of chaoticness or disruption. Feminine energy is continuing right now to work into that state of deepening balance. Feminine energy is coming into that state of emotional balance, if you will. Masculine, there's a moment right now that we see that even again, and this is something that needs to be navigated. And feminine, this is where we see that this work right now is basically masculine and feminine are reflecting each other in this moment. Because what we're effectively seeing at this time is a moment that feminine, much like masculine, is given emotional support to feminine. Masculine is articulating to the feminine right now what they need from them. This is a masculine whose own confidence is being shaken to a certain extent, which is why we see masculine moving more into that emotional area. And this is feminine that is almost immediately recognizing and realizing that much like the feminine needs that emotional support to be more vulnerable, this is masculine that needs that emotional support as it relates to their own sense of confidence. Because there's something here that's almost expressing itself about the masculine feeling the anxiety of a feminine doing this work of unpacking that's resonating with the fact of the feminine choosing the masculine. We see here even now that ability that's occurring right now is coming through with like both energies, deepest anxieties rising to the surface here. And we're almost recognizing that this is feminine that is almost saying to masculine, listen, you can be this vulnerable. Your ability to be vulnerable is attractive. Your ability to be vulnerable, it does not send me away from you. It draws me closer to you. And what we're almost seeing here right now for feminine is almost amplifying to masculine. And this is why we see that this work right now, even in the divine union, is so important, because this is a feminine energy saying to masculine that you, like almost amplifying to masculine, that them opening up, that masculine coming into that space of being vulnerable, being emotional. It isn't going to create a state or space of rejection from the feminine that the masculine isn't being strong. This is feminine almost saying to masculine, I'm here for both of it. I'm here for all of it. I'm not here, I'm here not just because of your confidence. I'm here when you're weak as well. That's the feminine almost again expressing to the masculine that point. And this is why this is the strengthening of a bond. This is feminine saying it's not your responsibility to put on that artifice. It's not your responsibility to do that. It's your responsibility for us to help and support each other, even at those moments that we feel those vulnerabilities. Masculine, you may be seeing this on the part of a feminine. Again, a masculine that is expressing their doubts and fears. This isn't a feminine that is taking those and running with them. This is a feminine energy that's showing an ability to hold emotional balance through it and say, I can be the strong one when you can't be. I'm not here to be like, it's not your job to have to do all of that heavy lifting. This almost feminine energy immediately coming through as the emotional support system for the masculine, holding the emotional weight for the masculine through moments or circumstances that shake their own confidence. Masculine and feminine right now coming into divine union. Feminine seeing a masculine right now. Feminine being a masculine right now, potentially having to push some energy aside and feeling that moment, if this was something that something had to put time on, and putting time on something, someone trying to come forward with the best of intentions, but putting time on it has somehow caused chaos. This is feminine. I got to tell you right now, feminine energy, if you're coming into divine union and this is happening, I don't want to hear you say I was right. I don't want to hear a word out of your lips saying I was right here, because there's going to be a lot of energy right now that's feeling like that, like feminine being feminine going I knew Like, I knew this was why, because this is feminine almost again seeing that difference between something that was harmless versus not harmless. This is feminine almost coming in that state or space of feeling that point of satisfaction. If this is a masculine that didn't let that outside interference affect the movement into divine union. This is feminine feeling like, in a way, masculine has had that point of recognizing that this isn't a masculine that just, can't control themselves. This is a masculine that is moving with a lot of intentionality through circumstances and situations, even if they're causing some points of frustration or disruption. Masculine in this modality, you may be seeing something right now, or again, you may have thought something was harmless that was coming towards you. Someone who just wanted to build a bridge and mend a fence. You had to put them off a little bit potentially for the sake of the feminine. And this is that moment that if you're seeing the energy that's almost like rescinding the offer to heal, rescinding the opportunity because of your own ability to ask them to wait because the timing isn't ideal, it's almost amplifying to you where that was coming from. It's almost amplifying that was potentially the reason. And again, you may be seeing that feminine might be right about something right now, but even now you may be kind of like, you're kind of sharing it to them. But again, you probably don't want to hear them say oh, I'm sorry. You might be feeling like they were. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why feminine is not chasing after masculine in this modality. And again, this is almost a feminine that may be struggling right now, especially if this is a masculine that's taking what the feminine's telling them the wrong way. Almost saying, I'm doing the best I can to understand what you want because you're not articulating it. And if the masculine is trying to say, I'm telling you what you want, then this is a feminine almost saying, no, you're not. Because if you're telling me that you want divine union, but then you're not prioritizing my needs over the needs of the energy outside and around you, then what you're saying isn't the truth. So this is almost feminine trying to articulate to a masculine that they're trying to get to the bottom of it. Masculine in separation right now, this is that moment that we're effectively seeing that you're potentially feeling right now, masculine. There's probably potentially a lot of feminine energy around you right now that's just telling you how they feel. Like, this is a feminine that feels like it's very open. The problem or hurdle that we're seeing a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now experiencing is the fact that feminine is almost giving you their perspective on things. And it may feel very, very different from the way you see things. You may be seeing something right now from a way that almost shows a side of you or something that feminine's identifying that either feels like it is a complete misunderstanding, or it's a feminine almost amplifying that how you're moving right now or how you're, behaving around them is confusing, is uncertain. And this is almost the feminine, like masculine. You're feeling that need or that desire to want to express to feminine how you feel. For some of the masculine, this is too triggering. This feels like that ability to communicate in this way feels too much. It's almost sending you away because you're feeling more like you're having this point of judgment. But we're seeing here that a lot of the feminine energy isn't trying to put a point of judgment on something. They're trying to fill in the blanks in the confusion between what you're saying and what you're doing. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Cups in its reverse, in its upright, and our Judgment card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Pentacles in its upright. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. One of the things that we're appreciating is this moment that this is feeling like a lot of fine tuning, a lot of recalibration, a lot of points right now. And what we like about this work is, again, it's not something where one energy or the other is just plowing forward right now in a direction. This is something that feels very incremental. It's feeling very incremental because it's, again, that moment of checking with each other on every step of the journey. Allowing for constant attunement, allowing for constant recalibration. This is a moment, it almost feels like clockwork here for the energy and divine union, because again, it's looking at how one feels as you do this karmic work. Feminine giving masculine what they need emotionally, masculine giving feminine what they need practically. And it's feeling very much like that sense of like looking and being very careful and conscientious in this way to assess and recognize what that energy needs in kind. And it's coming through heavy communication and productive effort. This is tangible and emotional coming into play right now to allow for that constant readjustment. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is masculine recognizing that observation point, the ability to actually look at something right now and to let go of the energy around you, to let go of that energy, not to care about what the judgment of the outside energy is as it relates to what you're doing. That is the offer. That is the gift of union that you're offering the feminine, because again, it is the moment that you are saying that your priority is on the feminine, regardless of what outside energy thinks upon it. That is the offer. Feminine seeing masculine in that modality of a masculine that again is like, let them be the way that they are. That's not my importance. Or like, my importance is the feminine feeling comfortable about things. That in a way is again deepening the bond of divine masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, further into divine union, because again, it is a fastidiousness to one another that is being amplified through perpetual choice. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see this is almost feminine again, saying to masculine, especially if this was a masculine that was triggered by anything feminine said. This is feminine almost saying, I wasn't saying this to you to get you to offer me something. This wasn't feminine trying to elicit masculine. Some masculine energy may be moving away from feminine right now, feeling like feminine was trying to like goad masculine into offering them something. This is feminine almost trying to say to masculine, no, don't misunderstand me. I'm not asking you to give me something that you don't want to give me. I'm trying to show you what I see you giving me. This is what I'm getting from you. This is what you're actually giving me. And that's why we see that this may be a bit of a trigger point right now, because this is feminine almost saying like, if you don't like what I'm telling you about the experience I'm having with you, I'm telling this to you so that you might want to recalibrate and adjust what you are offering me. This is literally a feminine saying, I'm trying to be practical by telling you how I feel so that you can see and adjust accordingly. If that's how you feel, feminine's almost saying, fine, because that's what I'm getting, and I'm just trying to like ascertain. This is feminine literally saying this, to being open to masculine right now, to help the masculine potentially recalibrate what they're offering the feminine. Masculine in separation right now, again, this is either going to come through as a point of healing, or it's coming through as a point of separation, specifically because there's something about the feminine right now articulating to you what they have experienced from you in terms of what you're giving them in a tangible that may be hard to hear and may require you in some way, shape, or form either to, again, it's not denying that that's what the feminine is experiencing, but rather taking accountability for it and further utilizing that as a way to adjust is the difference right now that is moving energy again back into potentially coming back into the divine union frequency right now. Or if this is masculine energy that again is kind of repeating a potential cycle of again moving in one way and then dipping back out, starting to come into divine union with someone and then dipping back out, because this is that moment that you may be seeing right now, masculine in separation, something that feels a little bit like a repetition of a cycle. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Cups in its reversal in combination with our World card in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Pentacles. Masculine and feminine, why do we see this constant work happening right now? This is hard work. The energy in divine union is intentionally doing a lot of difficult, heavy lifting from a karmic place right now. It's all to extend that feeling of positivity. It's all taking that energy and amplifying it, making it greater, trying to broaden it. So we see here that this is like doing like, it's feeling like a lot of like emotional or energetic construction work right now, but all for the sake of almost expanding that feeling of positivity, expanding that feeling of love. So this is, again, like, it's like the energetic remodeling of like the periphery of something, all to expand the domain of that frequency. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. There is this moment that we are potentially seeing that is the opposite of that. It is the establishing of that divine union that is almost creating a little bit of like construction zone around the divine union, as it were, because it is the creation of something that is having a bit of a ripple effect and requiring some adjustment in the energy surrounding it. Masculine energy and separate and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine, not, again, this is feminine that's not chasing after masculine energy. This is feminine energy that very much is holding and preserving their peace. And if this is a masculine energy, unfortunately, this is like a one-way door effect. If this is a feminine and masculine that were building divine union together, and this is a masculine that walked out energetically, this is that moment that is feeling almost like in a way they can't come back through the door, as it were. It's like it feels like it's not available, because this is almost energetically right now the feminine trying to preserve what they've created here, and a masculine that they potentially feel wasn't able to prioritize the needs of what they were creating beyond the needs of the energy outside. Masculine in separation right now, there could potentially be a feeling, if you're in separation right now, that is amplifying the choice that you need to make going forward. There's something about this right now, masculine, that again, you are building this sense in separation of trying to find your own peace. But this is going to feel much more right now for masculine in separation like a deeper recognition on what needs to be healed. For a lot of masculine energy right now in separation, there's almost this moment that you're potentially realizing that your ability to move unilaterally, your choice to maintain and have that autonomy may have led to circumstances or situations that it's hard to let others in. This is almost coming through with a lot of masculine energy and separation right now, in almost building this deeper sense of the self, coming into alignment, seeing things from a different perspective right now, and having that moment. It is feeling grounding, I have to say, because this is healing coming through every direction. This is a moment for masculine that is almost building this sense of understanding on what needs to be healed, and even potentially taking some accountability for it. But it's feeling a lot like a deeper question of asking oneself, where does one's peace live? What does that look like? And again, potentially a lot of the energy right now asking the masculine, and masculine feeling like this is the question that is being brought forth to you. Kind of asking, what does that look like? Articulate, explain what it is that you're trying to create, so that the energy around you can effectively almost say in a way like they're trying to accommodate, but you need to speak it into existence first. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between the World and its reversal in combination with our Page of Pentacles. Ace of Wands, we love this. So again, this is again for a lot of the masculine energy and separation right now. This is that moment that is helping a lot of the energy right now around masculine. Feels like it's somewhat chaotic. But again, what is the energy around the masculine saying to the masculine? Speak it into existence. Tell me what you want. Tell us what you want. Articulate on what it is that you're trying to do, because the chaos point comes when you're trying to do something and you're not articulating on it, because you're removing the ability of choice for the energy around you for fear that they won't choose to move with you. But moving in that way does not allow you to create something. All it does is create further chaos. So the ability to articulate, the ability to actually Say what you feel. Say what you desire. It starts within the self, and then that ability and that strength to actually put that forth to the energy around you is effectively allowing the energy to be able to try to meet you in that space. Moving in that way of effectively keeping that to yourself or not articulating it to the energy around you, you may be recognizing may have created some spaces or places that you're now trying to navigate and correct for, due to the fact that when you don't articulate on what it is, the energy around you will do its best to try to figure it out. And often you may be discovering that what they assume you want is very different than what you actually want, but recognizing that if you didn't tell them what you wanted, they did the best to fulfill the order. It's like the energy around masculine right now in separation is like doing the best to fulfill an order if someone is not being specific on what it is that they want. Feminine energy is almost like just asking this from masculine, and feminine's almost saying, unless you can come forward and be articulate with what it is that you want, feminine's almost saying, this just feels like you're bringing more chaos in. This is why we see that a lot of this feminine energy is just holding masculine to a certain extent, because feminine's like, I can't wait for you. I can't draw you forth in offering that. You need to desire to do so. And I'm just trying to figure out what that is. Final card for today's spread between our Nine of Pentacles in combination with our Ace of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine in divine union. Working through this right now, what we're effectively seeing is, again, this is that moment of putting your time, effort, and energy into the spaces and places that do not work to make them functional. This is literally feeling like a lot of heavy work right now. This is a lot of energetic work, but it's addressing. It's like looking for, I keep telling you, this is like divine union stress testing. Doing the thing that's hard to find the fault lines, to find the cracks, all for the sake of being able to fix them. Masculine and feminine. So even now there's that moment that it does feel challenging. But we see here that the reason that this energy right now is staying and perpetuating the divine union is it's not running from a problem. It's looking for the problem in order to find new solutions and new approaches. It's very cavalier in this way. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that observation point that this is not the same work right now. This is more of a point of recognizing some stuff that needs to be left unfinished, or potentially in a point of needing repair because your focus and your priority needs to be entirely on making it into the divine union frequency and maintaining it and creating this. And it's that moment again, anything that needs and requires the work and can be fixed can wait. It's going to respect the fact that there needs to be a prioritization if there's divine union happening in terms of where someone's time, effort, and energy is. And the energy that is patient, that is willing to wait in that way, is amplifying whether it is coming from a positive space or whether it's trying to affect or negatively impact the divine union. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see feminine is articulating to masculine what they see. The problem is that making sure that there isn't a miscommunication here. This is feminine energy articulating to masculine, not to say that something can't happen, but to show feminine masculine what isn't working in order to fix it. Masculine, it's really important that you don't get triggered by that and assume that a feminine energy articulating to you what isn't working isn't feminine saying that they don't want it to work. They're telling you so that you can find a solution. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is Three of Pentacles in its reversal. There's a lot of new ground here. This is good. We like to see this type of energy at the beginning of the year, but the problem is when we're striking new ground, it's really hard to tell the difference between what looks like a new construction or a demolition site, right? It looks messy either way. And your perspective on things right now is really going to help amplify that. When you look at a mess, is that something that you just kind of throw your hands up and say, meh, and walk away from? Or do you roll up your sleeves and say, well, I guess we got some work to do here? A lot of energy right now, energetically, is being challenged to see what you do when something gets messy. Are you the type of person that looks at the mess and like throws an extra, like, throws some more mess on it and goes, well, since there's a mess here, I'll just add to the mess? Or are you the type of person that looks at the mess and says, that's not my mess, that's your mess. I refuse to help you pick up that mess. No, absolutely, and you walk away. Or are you the type of person who, again, sees a mess, rolls up your sleeves and goes, wow, look at all this space. We could put we could build anything we want here. This is great. This is an opportunity. So again, your perspective right now is going to be very important, because it's a difference between a demolition site and a foundation that you're building. It's that moment right now for the energy, even in divine union. This is why we see a lot of this is feeling like that heavy work, because masculine and feminine are trying not to feel overwhelmed by how much work, like intentionally giving yourself this work to do. It's feeling like extra assignment time. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is that feeling of, again, you're breaking new ground, you're creating something new, and it's creating some mess around you as you create it, but also recognizing that that's very common when you're moving into the divine union frequency. Everything's got to make room for the divine union. Masculine and feminine separation. This is feminine asking masculine and saying, I can't build anything until you tell me what you want. This is literally feminine almost saying to masculine, this can take whatever shape you want it to be, but first you need a plan. First you need to show me. And you can't try to create something with feminine without that mutual sense of choice. And that's why we see a lot of feminine is kind of staying in their own lane right now, because it's a feeling that masculine keeps trying to build around feminine instead of building with feminine. That is our daily collective read for today. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you'd like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much.